As a reminder, the TEA Cybersecurity team hosts a monthly meeting for Texas school systems, cybersecurity coordinators, technology coordinators, education service center, cybersecurity personnel, and other members of the community that support K-12 cybersecurity efforts. It provides content designed to assist school systems and ESCs towards maturity in an information security program. If you are here, then you've registered, but we do make the link handy here in the slides in case they're shared out. You need to register for future CCFs. A little bit about me for those of you who are joining for the first time. I am the Chief Information Security Officer for TA as of August 1st of this year, so I've only been there for a couple months. I previously worked at a couple different places, specifically in IT for 28 years, mostly in higher ed, and I did come before TA from one of the Education Service Centers, Region 1. Um, 13 of my IT years have been in information security. Boy, how time flies. Excuse me. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so hopefully in your organizations, you all have been uh, making your staff aware of different cybersecurity themes for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And the 2025 theme from NIST is Stay Safe Online. Some things that you can remind staff and students about are password best practices, the longer the better. Multi-factor authentication, protect all important accounts. For MFA, secure email practices, think before you click. Keep your computer and personal device software updated and do your part. Share your knowledge with family and friends. Sometimes we are often hit upon by our family with questions, and during Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I challenge all of you to help a family member learn something about security that maybe you will already practice because it's second nature to you, but it may not be second nature to some family and friends. So do that. If you need some resources for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, the link down there from CISA provides some toolkits that you can use to create emails or provide staff with and students with the videos and different resources like that. Um, our agenda for today, we will have a little bit of in-state news. We will talk about the RSOCs. We will have an update on the cybersecurity initiative. We will talk about the survey so far. We will also talk about defining what managed endpoint detection and response should be. And then we have a few cybersecurity news and advisories. So in-state news, just one quick note on HB 35112, which was specifically on requiring all of us to take an AI training that will be provided by DIR. So the training is still under development. I spoke with DIR, and they said that it should be announced sometime early next year. So there is no AI training that you need to take yet, as will be provided by DIR. So just be aware that it is coming, but it won't be till next year. We had a lot of folks on the previous CCF that were asking specifically about this training and where they could find it. Well, it doesn't exist just yet. The Texas Cyber Command, so passed by the 89th Texas legislature as HB 150, and we mentioned it at the last CCF in September. Governor Abbott appointed retired U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Timothy James T.J. White to lead the command, and the Texas Cyber Command does have an official website, and that's their www.txcc.texas.gov for all things Texas Cyber Command related, including they are currently hiring. So they do have a an area for jobs that are currently posted for the Texas Cyber Command. And just kind of an overview of what we know so far about the Texas Cyber Command. It is the largest state-based cybersecurity department in the U.S. It shifts from reactive defense to proactive prevention and resilience, collaborates with universities, RSOCs, federal agencies, and local state partners. It will strengthen cybersecurity on strategic fronts and key terrain, and deploys cutting-edge capabilities to secure Texas infrastructure. And this is all from their website. And again, like I said, so they are hiring, and some of the different areas that they intend to put staff on, not all these are posted yet. They do want to onboard staff for cyber threat intelligence unit, the cyber incident response unit, a digital forensics laboratory, They want to have key staff that will continue to share information as part of the Texas Information Sharing and Analysis Organization, or the Texas ISAO. And they are looking for some cybersecurity architects in IT, OT, and IoT, and then a principal privacy engineer. So as they post these different roles, they are going to be looking for folks to fill them, and you can find more information about these when they post on their careers website. And a quote from TJ White: "Now and long term, people are why we do it, and people are how we do it." So the Texas Cyber Command is very people focused, and they definitely want to start, bringing up their staff to meet the future initiatives that they'll be working on. Excuse me. A little bit about the Regional Security Operations Centers, the RSOCs here in Texas. So there are three. There were some folks that were asking questions specifically about the RSOCs. So as of now, there are three funded Texas RSOCs. The Angelo State RSOC was the pilot and was the first RSOC. The University of Texas at Austin and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley RSOCs came up second. And there in the map, you kind of see where each of these RSOCs are located. And for the most part, they are handling a lot of the area that's closest to them. So they don't follow the ESC regions for their area, and their customers are a little larger. But they are expanding. So if you are close to one of these RSOCs, you can contact them if you want more information specifically from them. Let me go into a little bit of each one. So the ASU RSOC, which was, like I said, the pilot and the first one, they provide managed endpoint detection and response. They do real-time network security monitoring. They provide alerts and guidance for defeating security threats. They do remote on-site cybersecurity. I'm sorry. They have remote on-site cybersecurity incident responders for their customers. They provide guidance on implementing cyber policies and plans. They do a lot of educational and awareness services. They train university students in live security operations centers environment. So that's part of what the RSOC's goal was, is to not only provide RSOC services for different customers in their areas, but to also help train the college students so that they can go into the field with a degree and with experience. And the ASU RSOC, and the conversation I have with them, they do a lot of community outreach. They do have different sessions that they do. They go to the community, especially with some of the elders in the area. They do training for them, which is awesome. And then there's their link there at the bottom. It's rather long, but you can grab it from the slide once these are shared. The excuse me, the UT Austin RSOC also provides managed endpoint detection and response, and they do real-time network monitoring. They do automated dark web monitoring, automated web application security assessments, threat alerts and guidance, incident response for their customers, cybersecurity policy guidance. They also have education and awareness programs, and they provide statewide services like DorkBot, CredMaster, and Scavenger. And those statewide services are, like it mentions, they're for the whole state. They're not just for their RSOC area. So these are some of the free services that the UTRGV, I'm sorry, that the UT RSOC is providing currently statewide. And of course, if you want more information on them, you can email them or you can go to their website. And then the UTRGV RSOC also provides managed endpoint detection, excuse me, they also provide managed endpoint detection and response, EDR for their customers, incident response, monitoring and alerting, policy and planning, and training and awareness. All of these RSOCs essentially provide the same service for their customers. They do it in maybe slightly different ways, and they have slightly different bandwidth, but for the most part, they are very similar in the services they provide. So it doesn't matter what area of the state you are, if you are close to an RSOC and you can communicate with the RSOC about their services, either one of the three that you're closest to will provide you excellent services. Um, okay, so just trying to catch up time-wise to make sure that since we started late, so I think I can slow down. I think I caught up to where I needed to be, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit. So now let's talk a little bit about the Texas K-12 Cybersecurity Initiative. So as a reminder, these are fully funded services that are at zero cost to any of our school systems. They currently the initiatives that are fully funded and available for request are the managed endpoint detection and response. And to participate, the requirement is a student enrollment of 50,000 or less, and you are provided with licenses up to 30% of enrollment or 30 licenses depending on your size. So you get no less than 30, but we do use 30% of your student enrollment. Once registered, request a service via the managed security services from DIR via the MSS portal. And then school systems may choose between two currently EDR vendors, CrowdStrike or SentinelOne. The shared option should be most common for school systems. Another service that can be requested is the Texas Cybersecurity Framework or TCF assessment. Um, this is a first come, first serve for any school, so there are no limits on this one. You don't have to have any given student enrollment. If you are a K-12 school in Texas, you do qualify for TCF assessment when you are ready to go. Once registered, you can request the service via the MSS portal. And you can choose from three different sizes: small, medium, or large. And what that means is that the small is the minimum of what we would expect a school to do. Medium includes a little bit more controls, and large is all of them, right? So a lot of the schools that have already taken it have chosen to go the large route. Figured, this is free. This is just an indication for you to know, where your cybersecurity program maturity is. So why not get all of the security controls reviewed for you so they can provide you a report on your current status for the entire thing and not just pieces of it. But it's up to you if you want to do a small, medium, or large. This also may be ordered now and scheduled for any time through August 2027. So when you order the TCF assessment, you can request the service, and then on the notes, you can place that you want it scheduled for example, if you were to put it in today, but you're not going to be ready till June, you can put the June as the start date, and then they'll queue you in. So you don't have to wait until a few days before you're ready to have it and be on their calendar, because they do fill up and they can work through them as quickly as they can. But the more school systems that join, obviously, the longer it's going to take the assessors to work through all of them. So you want to plan a little bit ahead. The last is the network detection and response, the NDR, and the pilot program is currently closed, and we are still reviewing and evaluating, how we're going to continue with this and what we're going to do. And just for note, the NDR vendor is Vectra. All of this information can be found there at the bottom for the new customer form. I'm sorry. Next page. So just a little bit, because some of the schools and some of the surveys responses that we received already still said, "Hey, I'm not sure how I can take advantage of the program. How do I join? How do we start?" So I did review this at the last CCF, but I figured it'd be good to do it one more time. So the process, in a nutshell, really is the school system would complete the new customer form and send it to DIR. The new customer form is just it's the beginning, and it requires absolutely no signatures. There's no commitment. All it does is informs DIR, hey, the school district is wanting to participate, and send them the IOC. And so the IOC will be sent to the contacts that you put in the new customer form. So that's all the new customer form is. I had a few folks ask me, hey, where do we sign? Now, the new customer form doesn't require any signatures. Once DIR receives the new customer form, they will send the contact specified in the new customer form. They will send the interlocal contract to them. And that's when the fun will begin. So the IOC, once the school receives it, they should review it, have conversations with school leadership, and make decisions on to whether or not the school will want to participate. For some schools, that might take having conversations with the school board, but the superintendent's signature is definitely required on that. And then once the IOC is reviewed, completed, and approved and signed by a school system, then they're to return it to DIR for processing. All of even submitting the IOC, like I spoke last month, there is no commitment for a school to request any of the services. All having an IOC in place does is make you ready to request the services. There's no commitment, and it's just paperwork at this point. right? Once a school is ready to actually request the services, uh, and DIR has already reviewed and approved, they will have granted you portal access, and that's where you could actually request the MSS services via the portal. But up until then, just having the IOC in place does not commit to anything. Nobody's going to reach out to you and say, "Hey, when are you going to request?" Or things like that. But it just means that you are ready to, for whenever you are ready to request these services, and no longer have to go through all the paperwork and the process that it could entail to getting the IOC signed. But once you are ready, you would go to the MSS portal, and you could request EDR of your choice or the TCF assessment. So hopefully this review kind of, in a nutshell, like I said, provides the process of getting onboarded on up until having the IOC in place, and then requesting the services once you choose and are ready to do that. So some of the goals that we reviewed last month, and this will be our final review of the goals. So we are still, these are goals that we've had since the initial set of the initiative, which are the endpoint detection and response, multi-factor authentication for all staff email systems, to ensure DMARC compliance, making sure that you have your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC in place, restricting local administrator access to only those folks that absolutely need it on their system, and this typically is just IT and support personnel. And then, of course, doing a TCF assessment and getting an understanding of where you are in your security program, and then working year after year to improve and get to a better place. And then, of course, the network detection and response, which again, it's currently not an option for anybody new, just the pilot group that was selected. So these will continue as we move forward. So the program participation in the ILC, so there are about 480 school systems who have signed the DIR interlocal contract form. That number has gone up a bit since our last conversation, which is great. A lot of folks have now started the process. And so I'm surprised that we had a few already in there since the last time we reported, because like I said, it can be a process. So even though it's only been 28 days, we had two complete ones that have come in, and then I'm sure there are others in flight. So thank you for those that are working to get the ILCs in place. Again, my goal is to make sure that 100% of all you guys have assigned ILC with DIR, because again, there is zero commitment to request any services, just to have the ILC out of the way. Uh, any of the services that you do request as part of this initiative is zero cost to any of the school system. And then the IOC process takes time to complete. So again, superintendent having to sign off, board approval, etc. And if you ever have the need for EDR service because you suffer a security incident where EDR could be helpful to contain it and to clean it, and as part of your incident response process, and you don't already have it in place, DIR can't do anything. We can't assist until the IOC is in place. So this is why I highly recommend that everybody get that IOC out of the way, and just be ready to request the services so that the paperwork is out of the way and not causing a hurdle for when you need and are ready for the services as part of the initiative. Uh, Endpoint detection and response, EDR. So, and this data I pulled from a certain area, and it might be a little off, but there are 344 school systems, and that number I think has climbed up a little bit, who have signed up for EDR. We are installed in about 238,000 endpoints. It is definitely over now 41,000 attacks blocked, and 10,500 ransomware threats have been neutralized. So the program for the EDR is definitely working for the schools that are utilizing it. Um, excuse me. The ESCs are contracted to assist school systems with deploying EDR no cost. So if you need assistance with, like, you're like, hey, our staff is don't really have the bandwidth to go and install all of these agents to the systems, or whatnot, you can contact the ESC in your area, and they will help you at no cost to help deploy the EDR as part of the K-12 initiative. If you are part of one of the RSOCs, they do the exact same thing. So there are different no-cost ways to have the software installed on your computers if you can't do the self route. There's no cost assistance to do that for you. So please don't let that be a hurdle to getting the EDR. I also wanted to note because the surveys, there was a few folks that said that they had not decided to go the EDR route because they didn't know how long this was going to continue. That was a concern when we first did the EDR in the first 2 years of the initiative. But that is no longer an item. So managed EDR is a budgeted item, and this will remain for as long as EDR retains its utility. So for as long as EDR is worth having, it is fully managed now. I mean, fully budgeted now, and will continue indefinitely. But I will say this: the funds for it are not infinite, unfortunately. And at some point, once we reached a maximum budget amount, then we would maybe need to no longer allow any more to be added on. But until that happens, and we will let everybody know in advance if we are getting close to that. But before that happens, EDR for those that have it and those that are signed in, during the program, we will keep it for as long as it is valuable for us to have EDR in place. So many folks are saying like, well, it's not worth our time to deploy something that may be, gotten rid of in a year or two. Well, that's not the case. With the managed EDR that we are providing, or any of the RSOCs are providing, these will continue to be budgeted um, indefinitely unless TA goes away. That's the only thing I can't foretell the future. And as long as TA is here and EDR is a valuable tool, EDR will be budgeted for and will be allowed for any of the schools that are currently participating in the program. So I hope that helps some that had that concern. Um, the initiative, this slide was the same exact slide as before. What I wanted to talk a little bit about is because the numbers here of what currently is deployed versus what is currently requested is something that we're trying to address. Something that we have been in communications with internally to make decisions around what exactly is what we need from the perspective of the schools. What do they actually need versus what they've requested? And because of the way that we have allowed the request to come in, there are we allowed maximum allocation based on your enrollment to be requested, and then the schools kind of sat there, with hey, I have my 1,000 endpoints, but I've only deployed 200, and that's all I've had the bandwidth to do at the moment, or maybe that's all I needed, and we don't know what that is. And so going forward, what we want to try to do is we're going to start to slowly reach out to the schools and start to see if we can't determine what is actual need. And we're going to start adjusting the numbers so that we can better reflect actual need versus what you have requested. And actual need is going to be based on the deployment numbers that we see because we do get information from SAIC on all of the endpoints that are installed across each of the schools. So we're going to start comparing actual deployment versus what's actually requested and try to determine if the amount that was actually fully requested is actually still in need. And if not, we are going to begin to reduce the numbers for the schools closer to what is actually in use. What does that mean? I wanted to explain so that I don't cause any confusion, and it's a little complex, but let me try to make it simple. If you were allotted 1,000 agents, just going to use round, simple numbers, and you've currently only deployed 200, and you've had that deployment for almost 2 years now, and you've not really moved past the 200 mark. So once we notice that, what we plan to do is to communicate with the schools and say, hey, is 200 all you need, or do you still need, some agents that you just haven't had a chance to deploy them? If the school doesn't respond or says, you know what, that's pretty much all we need, then we're going to do is we're going to round that number up by 10% to give you a cushion, and we're going to change your allocated amount down to 10% of what your current agent deployment is. Now, that does not mean that if you determine that you need more, that you can't request more. So you could submit additional add-on requests as needed up until the maximum amount needed. But what it does for us in our reporting is it allows us to determine, where we actually are, where the actual need is, um, and make financial decisions going forward as to the actual amount that the EDR program is costing the initiative so that we can provide other services. Because right now, since we're going by the assumption that for the school that requested 1,000, even though they're only using 200, our budget for them is that entire 1,000, even though it's not costing TEA that at the moment. But we sort of have that as a just in case. But other schools have asked for add-ons requests, and some of the larger schools who currently are not able to participate have also asked to see if they can. And so we told them we were going to have internal conversations to see if we could do that. And part of us being able to do that is to make better decisions around what is actual need versus request. And so we're going to try to tighten that up a little bit. As we work through that, if you have any questions on that, please reach out to us and let us know. I don't want to make it seem like we're going to cap you at some amount. That won't be the case. If once we adjust these numbers, if you do determine that you need more, it's just as simple as putting in a new add-on request and going through the approval process to get in there. But I will say this again, at some point we will reach maximum amount of money allocated to this, at which point we will say like, hey, we're at 90% of the money that we've earmarked for the EDR. We're going to request additional funds from the legislature, but it's going to have to go through approval. So until then, the money that's earmarked will continue year after year. But any more above that, we'll have to go and request for additional to add additional. So don't be caught on that. Hey, I waited too long to get these services in place. But for you that are on there or are fixing to get onboarded on, this will continue indefinitely, as I mentioned before. Um, I wanted to review the computers that should be part of the in-scope systems. And it is very important, not because we don't want you to deploy to all systems, but in the incidents that have been reported to us, these are the systems typically that have had the biggest incident uh, cause incident causes for a school, and those are your on-prem servers. So if your on-prem servers are the victim of a ransomware or something like that and taken down line, the school has a difficult time of being able to provide daily services. And so we want to make sure that 100% of all of your on-prem servers are covered by EDR. And then next is your IT staff and central office staff computers, because if these close up, then the staff that typically handles most of your day-to-day business and IT support won't be able to do that until their computers are remediated. And so one and two are extremely important to have at 100% coverage as part of any EDR. And then as licenses allow and as budgets allow, if it's not part of the K-12 initiative, are your teacher computers. Deploy to all teacher computers. And if you reach a saturation point where you're like, hey, I need another 100 or so EDR licenses to cover all my teachers, hey, submit the request. I don't make any promises that it will be approved, but it's not going to be approved for sure if you don't ask. So ask so that we can review, so that we can make decisions and then approve them through if we still have the budget to do so. And then after that is all remaining staff computers, right? So if you still have, based on your allocated amount, if you still have licenses left for any of your staff that are not outside of 2 and 3, then begin to deploy to those. This will be your teachers. I'm sorry, your other staff that are not teachers who maybe have computers, and protect those. And then if you have any computers that are like in a student lab, then start covering those as well, so that we make sure that we have any of the endpoints that are in a school district or a school charter system to be protected, so that none of them are able to be a launch point for lateral movement if one of them becomes compromised with ransomware or anything else. So again, start at number one and move down the list until you are out of licenses. But we will always make sure that at the very minimum, you have the amount needed to cover 1 and 2 and as much as 3 as we can. Um, The NDR pilot, again, the NDR pilot just has 9 schools in them and is currently closed as we reevaluate how it would benefit us to move forward with this. I will begin to work with one particular school on some ideas that we have. I've reached out to the school. They've agreed to assist, and so we will start that work coming up here in November. And of course, as a reminder, you can request email domain security support from your ESC at no cost to make sure your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records are in place correctly. There is absolutely no cost to these, to even to implement, and it's mostly configuration. The same thing for multi-factor authentication. Please ensure that all of your employee email accounts are protected by MFA. We continue to see incidents reported where a district employee's email account, because somebody breached their password, got compromised, and so then they started spewing out other infected emails to other staff within the district, which now, because it looked like it was coming from an employee, more people were subject to clicking on those and reading that, and the infection could spread. We've also had some folks that, because they don't have MFA enabled, they've had their passwords breached as part of the fact that they use Google, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So it is vitally important that, at the very minimum, that MFA is enabled for all employee email accounts, whether you use 365 or Google, and there's no cost to do this for any of those platforms. And then, of course, restricting local admin privileges is also mostly employee awareness and some configuration. Um, the K-12 cybersecurity initiative does have a website. So I wanted to remind everybody that this is where we post any updates or information about the initiative going forward. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but this will be the last CCF of this year. So most of the other communication that we will be doing will be either via email, via ESC, or via the website. So we will go slightly gray, not really dark, because we're not going to have CCF to announce most of this stuff until next year. But we will still communicate via emails and other things. But anything related to the K-12 cybersecurity initiative, information that you need, we will always update and place on the website. So please keep an eye on this for updates, or if you have any questions. And the site also includes the email addresses to use to contact us for questions. As a reminder, I wanted to go over this one more time. These emails and phone numbers are intended to be, if there is a security incident at your school, something's on fire, for example, and you need absolute immediate attention, these are the places where you need to email so they can get and assist you ASAP, including 800 number for both SAAC and DIR. These are not meant to be, hey, I need to whitelist a device, or I need more agents, or things like that. Don't tie up the folks using these contact information, because these are meant for priority assistance, so that we can deal with these issues when they are something of importance that needs to be handled immediately. We had a few folks that used the information when I shared last time to request non-priority stuff, and so they wanted me to iterate that these really should be just for things that are critical. If you have non-critical stuff, right? So nothing that's an incident, an operation request, and you want to receive help. Um, that's You go through the DARSTS portal and submit that request. They do ask that you provide a brief 40-character summary, and that you start with MSS so that it gets routed even faster. All of them will be routed if you don't put that in there, but that just helps speed up the thing because of some of the workflow that they have configured on these requests. But when you submit the request through here, there's also SLAs. So the teams, everybody has to be kept honest, right? Once a incident request is received, it'll be handled. And I don't remember what the actual SLAs are, but just make sure that they're not missed, and things like that, or that we can have conversations with whoever it's stuck on to say, hey, like, hey, how do we move this forward? So if it is like request for, I need to uninstall agents, or I need to add agents, or I can't log into the console, things like that, you could send out information to the portal here. As a reminder, because we've had a difficult time reaching out to some of the folks, is to please continue to update your Ask Ted, especially for your technology coordinator and cybersecurity coordinator. A lot of the emails that we used and we pulled from the survey to send out the survey turned out to be old and incorrect. So that made getting the survey out a little difficult. A lot of you all had to reach out to me and said, "Hey, we don't have the survey. We've not received the link," and we sort of dealt with that. But primarily that was because we don't have accurate contacts for each school system across the state, and so we're trying to get creative on how to better do that. But it's important to update your contacts as much as possible. And as Ted, update the contact information with your ESC because we did reach out to the ESCs to assist with getting a hold of folks, and so that you should have been contacted regarding the survey, for example, saying, "Hey, the TEA has not received any surveys from you. We just want to remind you that this is still ongoing, and to please submit something." If you are unable to access the STS portal, obviously you can't log into the portal to request assistance. You can send an email to Teresa Shade from DIR, and she will assist you with getting access to the portal again. Um, and then, of course, make sure that you update the information for these folks, whether it be as TED or the ESC, whenever there's a cybersecurity coordinator or technology coordinator change at your district. Very helpful. New goals. So new goals, as I mentioned before, are still being developed. We've not made any final decisions on how this is going to be. But we did send out a survey on September 29th to all school systems. So please complete the survey once you receive it if you haven't already. Thank you for all that have. Your responses are essential for TA to accurately assess the current impact and understand the cybersecurity needs of all the school systems statewide. So let's talk a little bit now about the survey. I'm sure some of you have been waiting for this piece. So as of yesterday evening, we had a total of 764 total responses, which is 50% of all Texas school systems responded. For those of you pulling out your calculators, I see you out there. 764 does not equal 57% of school systems, but what I removed from the school systems metric are a few school systems actually submitted multiple surveys. So we might have had a district or a charter where the technology coordinator submitted something, or the cybersecurity coordinator submitted something, or the superintendent submitted something in addition. So we had a few school systems where we had two survey responses, and so that's why we have a total of 764 responses, but that really only represents 57% of school systems. So we're definitely received responses for more than half of all of the school systems in Texas. So that is awesome, I think. So a little bit of some of the information that we've pulled from the survey so far. So of the people that responded, we asked, uh, did you participate in the initiative this past time? The majority said yes, but we did have a lot of no's, and some folks that were unsure of whether or not they participated. And this is probably because what's added to some of the confusion is the RSOCs and some of the other areas where they may have been, but they're not sure if this is part of the initiative or not, because this is some of the comments that I read. So that's fine. But we did have a majority of the folks report that they did participate. We also asked, do you plan on participating on the initiative for this next uh, biennium that we're working on? And unsure was actually the most response. So that was kind of surprising to me. But one of the primary reasons was because of the EDR part, which seems to be the most popular, and that being that they're not sure if it'll continue. But like I mentioned, if you are onboarded onto the EDR and you've got a set of deployments already in your school, it'll continue indefinitely for as long as EDR is a viable solution, and TEA exists. So there should be no fear there. So I'm hoping that unsure drops to more yeses based on that alone. Other folks that said, no, I don't know because I'm thinking of doing this through the RSOC. I wanted to iterate that my goal is to make sure that all of the school systems in the state have EDR. It doesn't matter to me whether that comes from TA's initiative or from an RSOC, or if you want to go out and get it on your own. To me, the important thing is that you are protected on those items that I spoke about, which is on-prem servers and your IT and central office staff computers at 100%. And you can get creative on how you want to do that. That to me is the most important, not that you participate necessarily on the EDR program through us, but that you have EDR at your school system. Um, of the respondents, we asked them, hey, how has the K-12 initiative been of value to you? 212, so the majority that answered said it's been extremely valuable. Some said, somewhat valuable. Some were neutral. I had one that said not very valuable and one that's not valuable at all. And so in reading the comments, I understand why. And so thankfully that wasn't the case for most of the responses. But it does shine a light that most of your peers that have been taking advantage of the program have found it extremely valuable as we continue. Um, for the services that folks are using, uh, EDR has been by far the one that is being utilized the most by 209 folks. And actually, there are 344 plus school systems actually using EDR. The Texas Cybersecurity Framework Assessment 88 mentioned that they are participating. We have confirmed 54 in flight that are in already, well, 50 that are completed and 4 that are in process. So the rest might be those that have already submitted that are in queue. So that's awesome. 88, as you can see, of your fellows school systems are taking advantage of the TCF assessment. Assistance from the ESCs for your email security, there was 82. Assistance for MFA from the ESC was at 52. And assistance to kind of wrangle the whole local admin on your devices through an ESC's assistance was at 46. Of interesting to me was that the network detection and response pilot, the 21 of you said that you were participating. We only have 9 pilot schools, so that'll be some interesting review as to maybe there was some misunderstanding as to what we meant by the NDR. But there 21 participated, but actually there's only 9, and those 9 are locked, and we're not currently accepting anymore. So, what is it that everybody is asking for this next biennium? What is it that everybody needs? Right? So based on the responses that we received so far, by far what everybody is wanting is advanced phishing simulation and user training. So security awareness seems to be what most of you all are saying that we need. So we'll start looking at seeing what software we can provide that'll do phishing simulations and provide security awareness training to your employees. And then next on the list seems to be email filtering and gateway protection. And interestingly enough, these two things here are what's known how typically, most of the threats enter in the organization is via email, and users they're clicking on things that they shouldn't. So this kind of reflects, that we need a little bit more training for our users not to click on things and a little more protection above the defaults for email that's coming into to each of the school systems. Cloud security hardening was third on the list for Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. And what we could do for this is provide guides that ESCs could kind of work with you on, and just kind of reviewing different configurations in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace to make sure that they are at a level that they should be, or that you can make note of how that might impact to move to those more secure settings and then make decisions around how to get there. So it's not going to force anybody to click on all the settings that would make your 365 or Google more hardened. But definitely, if you don't have the recommended pieces in place, that you have conversations around how to get there. And then, of course, the rest of the list there shows what everybody's asking for so far. So thank you for everybody that submitted the surveys. This is what we're learning, and the information that we're getting has been really great. And there's a lot of data, so it's going to take us a while to sift through it all and make decisions. But so far, it's looking like the things that we will be adding to the initiative most likely are going to be those top 3 there on the needs list. But we'll see. One of the questions that we ask is what EDR is in place at each of the different locations, right? And there is a rainbow of options that everybody's using. Everything from what you see there, the most popular ones there at the top, onto to the bottom. And so I wanted to address a little bit on EDR. I wanted to make sure that, again, to me, the most important thing is that you have EDR in place. And to me, less important is how you're getting it, but more importantly, that you do have it at your school system. So we'll talk about that here in a second. The survey will close on midnight, October 24th. So if you have not submitted yours, please do so. You have about 50 hours left to submit yours. Email your ESC or our TEA team if you have an error that your link is expired or is not working, because we had a few folks that reported that, and we will definitely help you to get past that. Or if you have not received or cannot find your unique survey link, please reach out to us, and there's the email address there. So let's talk a little bit about managed endpoint detection and response, right? So defining what managed EDR is. So the K-12 Cybersecurity Initiative includes fully managed EDR. What is endpoint protection and response? Let's go over that. How does it differ from antivirus? What does it mean to be fully managed? So I want to make sure that we're all talking on the same plane when we talk about managed EDR. So here is a table of traditional AV versus advanced EDR. Both of them have signature-based detection, right? So EDR would not be able to do its thing 100% if it didn't at least understand things like signatures like traditional AV does. However, EDR moves past that to include behavioral and machine learning detection. Some of your traditional AV partners have begun to incorporate that into their products, but there's a higher cost typically as they start to slowly move towards EDR and get their customers to move towards in that direction. But advanced EDR for sure has that, and that is, by far way better than just traditional AV. EDR can provide continuous telemetry on everything going on in your system, what processes are running, how different processes or how different applications are interacting with each other. It allows you to do threat hunting, incident forensics when there is an incident. All these things traditional AV cannot do. Automated responses, like being able to kill, isolate a file, or roll back something for the managed piece is definitely something that's available by EDR. For traditional AV, that really depends on the product. A few do have it, but not all. And then threat intelligence integration. So the fact that your EDR can learn what is currently current, since it's not just signature based, anomalies that it sees or stuff that everybody else is reporting is added to the rules for EDR, so that the EDR product deployed to you is stronger because we are getting information from the entire state and everybody that's in the program. It does MITRE attack mapping. It can do endpoint installation. So if one of your endpoints becomes infected with ransomware, the EDR has the ability to essentially place it in a bubble that prevents it from communicating with anybody else except the EDR service. So this way we can still do investigations on it and things like that, but the endpoint at that point cannot communicate with anybody else on the network. And of course, some of the EDRs do have rollback capability, meaning that if something is encrypted, once it's detected and that action is stopped, it can return some of those files back to their pre-encrypted state. And typically, the more advanced EDR is the only one that can do that. So when we talk about EDR, that's what I want everybody to keep in mind. Of the ones that we are offering as part of the K-12 and as part of the RSOCs is SentinelOne and CrowdStrike, and those definitely live on that far right column. I'm not saying that those are the only ones, but as you have information on the product you're using, please review to make sure that you are using an EDR product and not just traditional AV. And then managed. Managed means that we have a security operations team that is monitoring the alerts 24/7, 365. That's either via SAIC, an RSOC, or your vendor, depending on where you're getting your flavor of EDR. That means that they will analyze alerts first and engage you only if real threats require your attention. They can call you at 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning or act on a threat for you. And typically that is a conversation you have at the beginning of your services, how you want to handle, after hours issues that may pop up. They provide 100% hand-free management, or you can engage with your security operations center. That means if you don't have the bandwidth to learn a new tool or configure a new tool, whatever, you don't have to. They will handle it 100% for you, or you can work with them on anything that may be specific to your area, or I'm sorry, to your network. And they will configure and tune the EDR for you. So you don't have to learn or figure out how to do that. Plus, anything that they see, like I said, if you're in the state program, whether that's an RSOC or the K-12 initiative, anything that is identified at one customer is shared amongst the cloud and pushed out to all the other EDRs, whether it's CrowdStrike or SentinelOne. It's done to both. And so threat intel is shared statewide and added to all customers, and apart from typical vendor threat feeds. So keep that in mind. That's what we're talking about when we say fully managed 100% EDR. It's not just any flavor. There are specifics. We chose what we chose. We've tied it together like we have to make it more robust for anybody who's participating in the state program. That doesn't mean you have to use ours. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if your does not provide currently some of these services, you might want to reconsider, what you're using. Plus, if you do through an RSOC or through the K-12 initiative, this is at zero cost to you. So that could be a savings where you could utilize that funding to some other part of your security program. And then lastly, where are the EDRs that we provide and the RSOCs provide in regards to the Gartner Magic Quadrant? So CrowdStrike and SentinelOne are leaders compared to so many of the others out there. So that means that Gartner does a lot of reviews and research on the different ones out there for specific things to identify where they're at. And so what the RSOCs and what the K-12 initiative is offering to you is not just any EDR, but it's one of the Cadillacs, if you will, the top of the line software that we're making available at no cost to the school districts. A lot of folks said, hey, I use Microsoft Defender for my EDR. And I wanted to make sure you all understand this. Microsoft Defender is not EDR unless you're specifically talking about Microsoft Defender for endpoint. The names are very similar, so I can see where there could be confusion where you might look up, hey, is Microsoft Defender EDR? And you might get a return that says yes. And that really depends on whether you're talking about Microsoft Defender, period, or Microsoft Defender for endpoint, period, right? And the easiest way to tell that is if on your device, if you do a quick, and this doesn't require admin rights, anybody can do this. You bring up your command line window and you do a SE query, SE space query space sense. If you get anything but the message below, meaning that the sense is running, then you do not have Defender for endpoint. Even if you paid for it, if you paid for it and you think you have it, just because you paid for it, if you didn't configure it properly or it has not been deployed to each of your endpoints, if you do this query, it's not going to show that it's running. And you're like, wait a minute, but I paid for that, but maybe it's not configured properly. So this is an awesome way to check to make sure that you are actually running Defender for endpoint and not just Microsoft Defender. And then real quickly, because we're a little bit over time, cybersecurity news and advisories. Breach password managers, we have had over the last year and probably before that information regarding, excuse me, folks who are using password managers and their passwords have been breached. So specifically Google's, and we continue to get reports from various school systems here in the States. So this has resulted in unauthorized access to a sender and other student information systems, enabling threat actors to alter employee banking details and redirect payroll deposits for fraudulent accounts. So this is a real threat that is currently ongoing here in the States. So please be careful of this. The best way to make sure that folks can prevent this is to provide them with regular training and enforcing the use of vetted password management policies so that they are only using password managers that you approve of and that they are set up correctly. And this will empower your staff to prevent these type of attacks because it's not always that the staff did something wrong. It's often the time that the staff wasn't provided with additional guidance on how to do this correctly. Changes to employee banking details should require manual validation before being committed. This is the one thing that regardless of the passwords protecting, it continues to be an issue where through the interwebs, folks can change banking details and have their checks rerouted to other places. It is important that you put into place a manual check to make sure that the employee who says, hey, my bank changed from A to B is actually the employee and not somebody who's somehow gotten access to their account. So I wanted to go over real quickly some of the password manager best practices. A password manager should secure use of any password. The secure use of any password manager must include MFA. If it doesn't include MFA, you should not use it. Your password manager password should be unique. It should not be the same for your email account tied to your password manager or anything else. You should have one long, very unique MFA protected password on your password manager that then gives you access to the other stored passwords in there. That is the best and only way that a password manager should be used. Your recovery email accounts for a password manager must also require MFA. Don't say, hey, to your password manager, I forgot my password, and then it goes into your email with your new password and your email account does not have MFA, because that is a definitely backdoor hidden vulnerability that exists for folks that are not using password managers correctly. Individual privileged or important, like banking or work password, should require MFA even if they're stored in your password manager. Yes, you do need that extra protection because it should be required by most folks anyways. If your password manager is breached, like so many have, the fact that your individual accounts require MFA might be your only saving grace. So there are proper ways to use password managers, and there are, of course, incorrect ways to use a password manager. Please avoid the use of built-in browser managers. They often lack more robust security features. And the Google one specifically is the one that keeps on being in the news where somebody's email account got compromised because that email account is their MFA, I'm sorry, is their Google Password Vault account. The threat actors had access to their entire list of passwords. And then, of course, they went and logged into whatever they could and wreaked havoc. Please be mindful of password managers, because if you do have your password manager breached, you are providing somebody the keys to all your kingdoms. And this continues to be something that for our school systems is now impacting potentially other employees as well. The Texas ISAO, just if you're not a member, go to the website, sign up to receive information. Anything that we see is always shared statewide if it's appropriate to do so, including any threats that we're seeing for K-12 specifically, that we should make mindful to everybody else so they can look up into their own organizations to make sure that they're safe. As a reminder, we don't have a CCF in November or December because of the holidays. Our next one will be in January, so please do save the date. If I don't see you between now and then, have a great holiday season, and we will be in touch with you again on January. Of note, we are only accepting registered school system emails to join the CCF. All others are removed. So if you continue if you please continue to use your school email when you sign up, because if we see any others that are not registered to a school, they are dropped as much as we can. And if you would like to let us know what you would like included in the next CCF, please send us an email and we will consider it as topics that we can talk about. I want to make sure that the CCF is not just a vehicle that we use to communicate TA important things, but that we can communicate things that you guys want as well. Maybe there's some products or some information that's hot on your I want to know list. Shoot them our way so that we can add them and communicate them out at the next CCF. And that is it. Sorry that I'm about 8 minutes over. Have a great rest of your day, and we will be in touch. Thank you, everybody.